going to be talking about one of the biggest mistakes newer wholesalers make, which is putting too much emphasis on lead quality. Now, this is in reference to those newer wholesalers that are using PPL services, pay per lead, like iSpeed to Lead, Lead Zolo, Property Leads, etc. Now, those are the three that we use. And I do want to emphasize that early on. Those are the three lead generating companies that we use. And the reason why I want to emphasize that is because so often when I hear newer wholesalers complain about a PPL company, it's because they put all of their eggs in that one company's basket, right? RJ, I watched your $0 to $1 million action plan, and you told me that I should be using iSpeed to Lead's coupon club. That's true. I did say that. However, since I released that video, Property Leads has now released $30 for exclusive nationwide leads. Basically, their version of iSpeed to Leads Coupon Club. Lead Zolo now has their marketplace where they will sell leads ranging from $35, $40, $45 as they get older. Their version of the Coupon Club. There are options available for you today that were not available when I recorded that video. However, outside of that one video, I have always said I believe you should be using multiple PPL companies, specifically all three that I use. And the reason why we use those three is because lead quality will vary over the course of time. And so if you test run one company and you do get a bad batch of 10, 20, 30 leads, and you decide I'm never going to use Speed to Lead or I'm never going to use Property Leads, as the next batch or two batches later comes in, and that could be much higher quality, you could be missing out on a significant amount of money. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because I see the post inside of our Facebook group, The Vault, where people say, hey, which PPL company should I use? Or, hey, I used Speed to Lead and I didn't enjoy it. Or I used Lead Zolo and I didn't enjoy it. Well, that could be due to lack of volume. It could also be a skill set issue. And newer wholesalers rarely want to, well, I shouldn't even say newer wholesalers. I should say all wholesalers really want to look internally and analyze their calls and see if there's an issue going on from an acquisition standpoint, the questions that are asked, deciphering whether or not a seller is motivated, or if it's truly a lead quality issue. Now, I'm here to tell you that since 2021, we have been using Speed to Lead, and we close deals every single day with Speed to Lead. Since late 2022, early 2023, we have been using Lead Zolo, and we close deals. Since mid-2024, we have been using Property Leads, and shocker, we close deals with them day in and day out. Now, are there ebbs and flows? Yeah, of course. Just like there was when we were doing text message marketing, cold calling, direct mail, there's always going to be ebbs and flows. Essentially, what you're signing up for when you buy a lead from a PPL company is for them to generate leads to find people that will raise their hand and say, I have a house that I want to sell. Now, ideally, that is going to be a motivated seller that is going to need to sell their house for a discount. But that's not a guarantee. You need to understand that going into each one of your seller conversations, that the vast majority of them are not going to work out for us. In fact, as I continue to think about this, and I was talking about this morning during our Titanium University implementation call, if you're a rock star Hall of Fame wholesaler, 90% of your leads should not and will not make it to the closing table. And that would still make you in the upper echelon of wholesalers. You'll be one of the greatest closers if you could close 1 out of 10. On these cheaper leads where we're paying $29, $30, $35 for a lead, If you can close 1 out of 25 of those, then your numbers are significantly better than the vast majority of wholesalers out there on an average cost per contract. That is what you should be aiming for. And it is easily achieved if you have the skill sets and also if you give yourself enough volume of leads to test run this. I'd say every single day, you have to be bringing in new leads, even if you are buying leads. I had a little mini heart attack yesterday because I saw a TU member say, I went in and I bought 50 new leads from property leads. Now, that's great. I love seeing the action being taken, but I would have preferred to have seen those leads be spread out over the course of the next week to 10 days rather than dropping 50 leads all in one day. And the reason why is because as these leads come in, it is the acquisitions manager, whoever's doing that, if you're a solopreneur or you're delegating this out to someone that works for you, to get in touch with each one of those homeowners as quickly as possible as the lead comes in. If you were to go out and buy 50 leads in a day, every single second that goes by is moving closer towards that seller solving their problem. Think about it. That's the seller's objective. They're going to go find someone to buy their house. That's how motivated they are. So if we buy 50, how many hours, how many dials is it going to take us to get in touch with all 50 of those homeowners? Then as we get them on the phone, it's our job to then decipher what type of seller am I talking to and how motivated are they? Are they motivated enough to sell this piece of real estate to me for a discount? That's our job. Now, I believe as people complain about the quality of leads, what they're not getting is the 1%. The 1% of leads that is going to fall under one of the seller buckets, which is right price, highly motivated. Now, each and every one of us can close that lead. That's the easy one to lay down. We just move forward with closing, and the only thing that we need to stray away from is being too overly excited and making them run away from us. If you could do that, you could close those. But the majority of our leads are going to fall under the incorrect price, highly motivated seller. It's the wholesalers that can close those that really separates themselves. And so when I hear speed to lead sucks or property lead sucks or lead Zolo sucks, what I really want to question is how great is your team at deciphering the motivation that the seller has? What kind of questions are they asking? Are they truly listening? Now, a good example of this is today, I was doing seller call reviews. And as I was reviewing these from TU members, I did 3 different seller calls. Now, what I found is they uncovered the initial layer of motivation. But some of the follow-up questions and the opportunities that existed as we were pausing the call and discussing it as a community, we were seeing opportunities that were missed, where we weren't necessarily listening to the subtle little nuances that the seller was telling us about why they needed to sell that property. One example was, it was a tired landlord. This tired landlord was probably an unprofessional landlord, meaning it's not going to be as logical as a professional. It's probably going to be a little bit more emotional, and it's going to have to take a little bit more open-ended questions to truly determine why this unprofessional tired landlord would want to sell this property for a discount, making it make sense. This property had fire damage. This is a motivation that is unlike any other, right? An investor, property caught fire, probably doesn't have the money. These are the things that need to be pulled out of that seller if they're not just going to be forthright with you with that information. These moments in each call separate the deals that close from the ones that don't close. There was an offer made, then there was a counter, and then the signed contract happened. In my opinion, the TU member actually overpaid for the property, because they were so focused on the numbers on the deal and they weren't focused on the motivation enough. When I hear people say, I bought 10 leads from Speed to Lead, but they weren't motivated, they wanted full retail. Of course they did. Who wouldn't have a house that they want to sell and go to Zillow and see what the Zestimate says the property is worth? Who wouldn't do that? Who wouldn't call a realtor and ask, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Realtor, how much do you think you could sell my house for on the open market? But if they are willing to raise their hand to a PPL company and say, I would like to receive an offer, it is our job then to go on and ask the questions to determine, why not hire a realtor? Why not list that and get as much money as possible for your property? This is our job. It's our responsibility. It's not Speed to Lead, Property Leads, and Lead Zolo's job and responsibility to do that for us. Now, what I will say is, on Speed to Lead's marketplace, it tells you the motivation up front. It also tells you how they generated the lead. I've seen time and time again where people complain about Speed to Lead's cold call leads, the triple verified ones, where they're like, it's not actually an inbound lead. They're just cold calling. Well, yes, they tell you that up front. The AI call summaries will actually tell you about the conversation. It will tell you on there before you even purchase the lead whether or not that person is willing to sell the property for a discount. The information is being handed over to you before you swipe your card. So if you have complaints about this, and again, I actually get people that say, RJ, I know that you have to promote Speed to Lead and Property Leads, Lead Zolo. That's bullshit. I don't have to do anything. The only reason why I promote these companies is because I use them successfully day in and day out. And now it's not just Titanium Investments that does that. It's also Titanium University members that are doing it. However, being completely transparent and realistic, not everybody inside of Titanium University is succeeding. There are people that are failing. That is why day in and day out, myself and Cassie and Nick and my entire team are inside the group working with those members to improve their skill sets, because it's not as simple as, hey, do you want to sell? How much do you want for it? Tell me a little bit about what you got going on. If I were to cover the closing costs and there's no realtor commissions, what's the best price you could do for me? That's what works on the laydown, the 1% leads. In order for you to truly be successful in this industry, you are going to have to, one, have consistent and constant lead generation. Two, you are going to always have to get those sellers on the phone as quickly as possible. I've said it time and time again. Speed to Lead was one of the best names I've ever seen for a business for lead generation. It's our job to have that speed to the lead and get them on the phone. And then when you're on the phone, it is your absolute obligation to determine the level of motivation that they have and point them in the right direction. If you are blaming your lack of success on the leads, then that means you have no self-accountability. There is never a point in time in the past 5 years that we've been using PPL where I've looked at it and said, the reason why I couldn't close a deal is because of Speed to Lead or Lead Zolo or Property Leads. In fact, time and time again, I have proven this to you guys. I come on here, I get leads, I buy the leads for you live, and I show you how we can close those deals. I then show you how we dispo those deals and show you the settlement statements. It's not because of any magic secret lead that they're giving me. In fact, the majority of time when I go live and I call the exact same leads that were available for you, I'm getting the leads that no one else was willing to buy, the ones that were passed on and laughed at. You guys saw the video where I did one lead, one dial, one close with Speed to Lead. Yuri from Speed to Lead did not want me to buy the lead. He said, RJ, that has a C rating Our AI said that's a C. And I said, C stands for closed. Sure enough, one dial, one close right there. That deal is closing and funding right now. Right now, in my bank account, we are making that money from that one lead that was available for each and every one of you to buy. It was a triple verified cold call lead, the same one that people complain about over and over and over again. So one of the mistakes that I see the newer wholesalers is they put too much emphasis on lead quality. The lead quality is the fact that you now have the availability, the opportunity in front of you to swipe your card and get a lead. Someone that says, I have a house that I want to sell. That's never existed until today. Yeah, in the past, you could go run your own PPC campaigns and your own Facebook ads and whatnot, but you had to learn a skill to be able to do that. You all have the skill set to enter a credit card number on a website and push purchase. That's all the skill set you need today to be able to do this. From there, the true skill set that you need is to be able to ask great questions, truly listen to the seller, and determine which one of my leads falls in the 10% that I'm going to close, and the rest fall under the 90% in which I don't. If you could do that, that makes you a Hall of Fame wholesaler. The ones that sit around and complain and moan about lead quality, well, long term, they're probably not going to be around. Let me know in the comments what you think about this take on lead quality, and do you put a heavy emphasis on that inside of your business? Show me some love, like today's video, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.